Good morning, friends. It's the beginning of the week, and we talked yesterday about courageous joy and how with the Apostle Paul, there's this sort of a symbiotic relationship between living courageously for Jesus and actually joy coming along with that. And no matter what our circumstances, we can still have that joy. There's a book that I read with our kids a long time ago called Who Moved the Cheese? And it's a fascinating little bitty book. It's not a Christian book, but really, really good book to read if you get a chance to do that. But it talks about this one principle of, if I wasn't afraid, asking this question, if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? And it's interesting because when life presses in on us, a lot of times our fear is very loud. Fear is a big stealer, a joy stealer. And as our fear is loud and says, and speaks more and more into the situation, we get less and less joyous and our courage tends to go away. And if we ask that question, just hit the pause button for a second and say, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? It's kind of amazing how when you just hit the pause button and you ask that question, then you can survey everything that's around and say, wait a minute. So I guess I do have options here. It's not like I don't have any options. This isn't the end of the world. This isn't, where fear would say this is the end of the world. I can choose to do this, or I can choose to do that. You hit the pause button. You can also start to regulate your breathing. Amazing how effective regulating your breathing is, and just starting to breathe deeply and slowly and just focusing on that. Big deep breaths, long breaths in, big long breath, long exhales. And as you do that and you ask that question, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? Then all of these possibilities begin to open up to you. And then you can pick one. But you have become more thinkful, more, as Martin Lloyd-Jones would say, you've become more thinkful. You are aware now of that you have options and that you can move forward. And that's part of moving into courage, is knowing that you actually have options and that you can take those options. Even if there's resistance, you can take those options and you can move courageously and back into joy. That's our reflection for this morning. Think about that today. If you weren't afraid in whatever this area is in your life, what would you do? I love you. Thanks for joining me.